the whole premise of this book is that she's just gone through a divorce and she's just broken up with this guy that she's been like having a casual affair with.
I've seen the film.
Okay, so she's gone to Italy and she's on this. She's seeking pleasure. Basically, she's on a hunt for pleasure. And this chapter, she says about she talks about food and everything. But this chapter, she talks about sex. The obvious question is, what about sex? To answer that question simply, I don't want to have any while I'm here. To answer it more thoroughly and honestly, of course, sometimes I do desperately want to have some, but I've decided to sit this particular game out for a while. I don't want to get involved with anybody. Of course, I do miss being kissed because I love kissing. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to do anything about it for now. When I get lonely these days, I think, so be lonely, Liz. Learn your way around loneliness. Make a map of it. Sit with it for once in your life. Welcome to the human experience. But never again use another person's body or emotions as a scratching post for your own unfulfilled yearnings. And I was like, felt personally attacked. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of emergency life-saving policy more than anything else. I got started early in life with the pursuit of sexual and romantic pleasure, blah, 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 blah. So she says, I've had 2 solid decades being intertwined in some kind of drama, each overlapping the next with never so much as a week's breather in between. And I can't help but think that's been something of a liability on my path to maturity. And it goes on and on and on, and it gets more and more like a bit more complicated. But I was like, I feel that. I really feel that. Thoughts?
One of my friends broke up with a partner yesterday of 7 years. My friend who's also my yoga teacher.
Okay.
And I was talking to her earlier this morning.
She broke up with him, her?
It was kind of like a mutual, she and him, but it was kind of like a mutual decision. And she was like, I just think I just need to be on my own for a bit. And I was thinking about how even if you are in a relationship, about how important that is. Do you know what I mean? Because like even
to pursue your own things.
To pursue your own things and to have time on your own and to think about who you are as a person and what you want as a person. Like, do you know what I mean? Like sit and think about like what you want to do right now and what you want to eat right now, and not because when you're in a relationship, like it's normal that you make just like all of the decisions are like mutual, like, oh, what should we have for dinner, what, even when it's not like something big like life decisions, but just simple things like what should we do at the weekend, what are we going to eat,
what should we watch on Netflix tonight.
And it's like important to have those even if you are in your relationship, if
really
you're going to stay in your relationship, to be like to be in tune with yourself. And I think that's like
really
when
hard.
I think about like
other
people's relationships, like my own, other people's in my life, like friends and everything. And I think that's what it's about. Like, I think that's why it's so difficult for people to stay together long term, because they like just lose themselves.
Yeah. I definitely agree. But that's exactly what we're not taught to do, though, or like what I don't want to say, or what society tells us to do, but that is, isn't it? Like the whole point of your life is to like get married, settle down, have kids, and spend your life with one person. It's not to discover what it is. Okay, I'm talking like traditionally, but it's not to find yourself or to discover what it is really that makes you happy, or even there's no mention of just being happy when you're alone.
Yeah,
it's impossible to be happy when you're alone, apparently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But I think like part of going away, and not like irrelevant of where that is in the world, but like moving away from your nuclear situation, like your family, the friends that you grew up with, the place where you're from, I think that like gives you that experience. It's not like an automatic thing. It's still something that you have to like go after and like work to understand, but it like offers you that experience, because all of a sudden like everything that you related to your identity is just like stripped from you. People don't have like this idea of you that, because you like relate to yourself in the way that other people relate to you. So it's like you're the person who does this, who's believes that, who like, and when that's taken away from you, like people like to say like, oh, you can reinvent yourself. I don't think that's what it is. I think you can like actually get to know yourself, like taking away all the projections.
Yeah. And even if it is a reinventing yourself, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with taking those things away that you think you are, people think you are, and then actually deciding, you know what, I'm not comfortable with that, I'm actually not vibing that, and rebuilding it again? What's wrong with that?
It's a human experience.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that society like tells us, is that like change is bad. Do you know what I mean? Like change, like you've changed, like in popular culture. That's like a negative thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You've changed. Yeah. I have, and I love it. Yeah. Okay.
And that relationship thing is like the same with friendships and stuff. Like sometimes, like some friendships stand the test of time, and others don't, because like people do change or like choose to do different things with their lives, and like obviously not everything continues, and that doesn't have to be sad.
Friendship is so special, Izzy, because no matter what version of you reveal yourself, you know, whatever version you want to show is a version that I'll love. But the thing is though, it's been different for me, and what I've now, or like what I'm trying to now do, is rediscover myself in that way, because the traveling does allow you to do that. But the point that I've traveled or moved to other places or been, you know, around the world, the number one reason for that has been a relationship or another person in one way or another. And so like automatically it depended on that other person, and so I wasn't even doing it kind of just for me or just because I wanted to. I was doing it because I thought that, you know, falling in love and being with somebody was the most important thing ever, and if that meant that I needed to move to Bolivia or Uruguay or Mexico or wherever, then I would do it. And actually that's not enough. It was just forming this like that actually I hadn't built up enough, and it's not enough to just say, oh well, I'm in this great relationship halfway across the world. That wasn't enough.
You know what I mean? And that's what I always said to you, like, because the thing that you would always say like in the past few months is like, well, if everything was okay with the relationship, then I wouldn't be feeling this way. And I just don't think that that's true, because we need more. And I think that's like, wow, this is something that like a big lesson, I think, over the past few years. Like I say, like not just for myself, but just kind of like it about relationships, is that like you can't, we put that, like you're saying about society, like getting married and having this, you also put a pressure on like that person, your person, being everything for you. And that's like impossible, and it's not fair, but it's not realistic. And why would you want that? Do you know what I mean? Like you limit yourself to that one person, and we're not talking about like necessarily needing to be like open relationship or anything like that, but just the fact that you receive different things from different people. Like you have different kinds of joy with friends than you do in a romantic relationship. You have different experiences, you can explore different interests, and it's like, why would you diminish those other relationships as well? Like the connection that I have with some of my girlfriends is a connection that I'm never going to have with Fernando, because he's not a woman, he's not lived through some of the same things we have, and that's fine, and that's great. Do you know what I mean? Like why would you put so much pressure on one person, and you need other things in your life?
That's also kind of what I meant, you know what I mean? Not just about like, oh, society tells us to get married and have kids, but that this whole, oh, I found my soulmate, I found the one, or now I'm fully complete, you complete me, all this like rhetoric around those things, and it's so damaging. Like I'm not blaming any of those things. I've got my own issues, but I literally until very recently thought, oh, That's all you need. Like that's all I want. That's all I'm going to do for my life is just find someone that I'm
Mm.
absolutely besotted by, and then my life will be okay.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever played Sims? You've probably not played Sims, have
Yeah,
you?
I love
Okay.
Sims.
You know, at the start when you make a sim, when you first design your sim and you choose like its priority. So your like life goal can be about
I don't remember that
relationships
bit,
or
but yeah.
work
Oh, right,
or
okay.
environment or like all these kinds of things. And I was like, if I was a sim, easy peasy, love, relationships would be my thing. And it's like,
Uh,
yeah, it's sad, but I've realized that's not it. That's not enough. So that's where I'm at right now.
I think it was the opposite for me, like, but in like being so in the opposite, maybe like I found that, do you know what I mean? Because I was
Yeah,
really like against it. Like I was like, no, like that doesn't work. Like
yeah,
even like marriage, like I would never do that. Like it doesn't work.
that's so interesting. We like
And
polar opposites and we're working our way inwards, but to the other side of the person's spectrum.
yeah. And it's about that as well, like sometimes letting go of the ideas and the expectations that you've created for yourself, because you could like you could miss out on an amazing opportunity if you are so fixed in terms of those things that you believe. Like I could have been like, no, I don't want a relationship.
Yeah,
I don't want to. And
yeah. On the other
in any
hand,
situation.
I've carved out a lot of great opportunities for me, which I'm extremely grateful for and will always be extremely grateful for having, you know, wandered around the world like a lost puppy with a sign, please love me. I have now got this experience to share with everybody in this podcast.
I found that quote, by the way. Learn not to look for the so-called half of the orange. You're not incomplete, and we're not made of halves. We're wholes, and sometimes we look for other holes so that we can transborder, overflow.
Wonderful. Wonderfully translated. That is so relevant. I need that. Everybody needs that. Everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the soulmate thing for a second, because I think that just like you're saying, the whole like find your soulmate. I don't think that we just have. I don't think, first of all, I don't think that soulmate is just about like romantic,
No,
loving
Abby's
like
my soulmate. You're
relationships.
my soulmate. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think like we have many. And I think like if you're able to be open to, like I just have like I'm so grateful for the amount of people who I've met
Oh God. Hit
who
me with tears. Oh God. Didn't take long, did it?
who have just become like family. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's something that is maybe really unique as well to this experience of like living away, is that okay, it's difficult to be far from your family, and obviously yeah, you miss out on that, but you're also open yourself up to like creating new families in different places, and that's like something that I'm so grateful for. Do you know what I mean? Like I have
Yeah.
family in Minas, I have family here, like we created a family in Colombia, and that all people
Yeah.
who, you know, those like connections and those things will stay with me forever, and that's like really special. And that's part of,
Yeah.
sometimes it's
It comes from a bad thing, like, or the bad thing as being away from your immediate family, but actually gives you so much more in return.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And sometimes it's hard not to believe in like destiny and fate, with when I think about some of the people who I've met and the people who I have in my life now, it's hard not to believe that I wouldn't have, even if it had been through a
Yeah.
different path, that I wouldn't have found them one way or another. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's truly beautiful. So Anglatinas, this is literally perfect.
Anglatinas, this is us. So if you're up for us like crying and
Yeah.
reflecting on all the big stuff.
Yeah. If you're here for a wishy-washy, you know, gossipy podcast, turn it off. Turn it off. Get your Kleenex out. No, it should be fun. It should be fun.
It's gonna be fun. So in the first few episodes, obviously you're still in Mexico, and we talk a lot about you're kind of starting to question what you're gonna do, if you want to stay there or not, and we talk about that a lot in the first episodes. And so now in episode 0, you're in England.
Like, clearly not in Mexico. Yeah. All my students would laugh at that as well when I first came back. They were like, "Oh well, you're in England because you're in a hoodie." Yeah. So yeah, I'm now back in England, sorting my life out, sorting me out. You know, focusing on what it is that I want to do, who it is that I am. Yeah, and taking my time with it really, no rush, just chilling.
Love
But
that for you.
Yeah. I'm going to move out of my mum and dad's house soon. Watch this space for that. That'll be a fun episode. And yeah, feeling positive, really. I am feeling good. Feeling good about things. Feeling like less stressed and less pressured.
That's a good way to feel.
Yeah, definitely. The world's my oyster, and I know that. But now I've actually got the kind of freedom to choose the oyster.
Yeah. And it's like what we were saying earlier, it's not about like you choosing, oh my God, there's more hummingbirds. You choosing one path and like stubbornly sticking to that because that's like who you are now. Like you get to attach to your identity. Like I'm Rosie and I travel and I live in Mexico. Like, okay, yeah, that is part of me as well, but that's not what I want right now, and that's fine.
Exactly. That is the essence of Anglatinas, isn't it? Because in the same way, if you decided tomorrow to pack up and come home, you would always carry that inside you.
Yeah, and that's literally wonderful. Me.
It's any exposure to like other things or kind of outside of the box things that's given you that. But also, you know, it could just be part of getting older and like the bird watching thing.
Yeah.
It is just new versions. I've got this. I've ever showed you this. I think Abby gave it to me from some kind of notebook. Oh, is it backwards?
Oh yeah, love that.
Is it backwards?
No, it's not.
Why do I see it backwards but you don't?
Not sure.
That's weird, isn't it? Yeah, do not be afraid to outgrow outdated versions of yourself.
That's what it's about.
Isn't it? That actually sums it up, and I've got that pinned here on my notice board. I think that's like really, really key.
Another key thing about Anglatinas is just that, like, it's not, because I think that this is something that's really common on both sides as well. Like people who in England like have that dream of like, you know, like life would be better if you lived in like a tropical place or if you had more sunshine, and like obviously those things do add a lot to your quality of life. And a lot of people here on the other side dream of like living in Europe where there's like better healthcare and like quality of life in terms of salary and security, safety nets from the government and those kind of things. And you always kind of have that feeling like the grass is greener, but it's not necessarily about the country or about like the culture or the people, because there's different people everywhere. Like those things that we're talking about, like getting up and appreciating being connected and stuff, it's not like everybody here lives like that, and it's not like nobody in England lives like that. So
it's the Venn diagram. It's the Venn diagram I'm thinking about. It's like the crossover that gives you that. There's so many miserable people everywhere.
The perspective of both sides.
Yeah, it is. And now I'm back home and everything. Like, yeah, of course there are things that I really don't like about being here, and there are things that I really didn't like about being there. But like just knowing that and just being comfortable with, okay, you're never going to love everything about one particular place. There is no like, paradise island that you can go to. Like, there's always going to be bad things, but just knowing that and just like coming to terms with that. Okay, you take the rough with the smooth, don't you? Like that's
life.
Learning to do that as well is the key to internal happiness. Fuck's sake, it's getting too much.
Because that's exactly it. Like, it's not like nowhere any job that you choose, any path that you choose, any lifestyle that you choose, there are going to be days where you're just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can't be asked to go to work, can't be asked to do this. And I think that people have on both sides, like, the grass is always greener. Like, if I just had that, or if I just lived this way, then everything would be okay. But you're never going to feel like that. there's always going to be something else, or like another person who's doing it a different way that you're thinking, wow, if I could just do that,
they've got it better.
Yeah.
Even David Beckham. Have you watched the David Beckham documentary? Have you watched it?
We watched it last week. Yeah.
Oh my god, loved it. Anyway, like, watching that makes you think it must be. You think, wouldn't you? It must be so good to be David Beckham or Victoria Beckham. But you see their live and the things that they've gone through, and you think, oh, that's horrific. I would hate to be David Beckham or Victoria Beckham. Do you know what I mean?
But that's it.
That's the perfect example.
Do you know what sums this up brilliantly?
What?
I drink wine.
Yeah, I was thinking about that song so much and being like, our first episode should just be us singing and digesting that.
And you know what your lyric is now? Like, and this is just gets you right. This gets you right here. Sometimes the road less traveled is a road best left behind.
Well, sometimes in the carpool karaoke when she's like, I love this. Can't believe this hasn't been written before. I can't believe no one said this before.
Can't believe it didn't exist.
Yeah. So that's
we idolize the extraordinary. And sometimes it's just about, well, it is just about like the little things every day that bring you joy. And that could be like, there's going to be times where those are extraordinary things, and there are going to be other times where they're ordinary things, but there's got to be those moments in every day, and that's wherever you are.
And we're going to be talking about both, aren't we? I feel in this podcast we're going to be talking about the extraordinary things that we've experienced, highs, lows, but also the little things. It's the little things that get me high.
Yeah.
Yes, Georgia. Yeah.
Love it.
Tune in.
Really excited.
Me too.
This new journey. It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I think that the time, like, we started this project and then we took a break, which I think was like 100% needed for us to be able to get here
and do these reflections and think more in depth about it and what we want it. That's it.
Yeah. So in our first episode, like we said, it's a few months ago, and in the first episode we explain a lot more about what the podcast is going to be, why we're doing it. But today's just a little teaser of what's to come, basically.
We hope you feel teased. We hope you
I know I do.
Thank
love
you so
it.
much, Lizzie.
Thanks,
It's also really helped me. I love that. Yeah, I love having these conversations.
Yeah,
I feel less jittery now.
That's good. That's why we're doing it at the end of the day. It's for us first.
Yeah.
I hope you lot like it, but if you don't, then you're lost.
Sodja.
Okay, so you've been listening to
Anglatinas. See you next time.
Bye.
Ciao.